And we are live. Welcome everyone to Livestream Sunday. And I want to just kick it off first of all by wishing a very happy Easter to everyone celebrating Easter today. Christ is risen. And today we're talking all about unfinished business. Put the video up yesterday in my dream list. I want to hear all about everyone else's dream list and dream figures that have never been made. And I've got an all-star Patreon tribe panel with me today, and they might, hey guys on Patreon, I posted the link on there. Feel free to pop in and pop out. You don't have to ride the whole way with us. You can come in for a cameo appearance, wrestling running if you want as we go. But I'm joined by the excellence of elocution, as I like to call you, Hans Chow. How are you, good brother?
I'm doing very well, thank you. We're now finishing our run of COVID through the household, and we're all feeling a lot better.
So I'm glad to hear that. I'm getting over something myself too, so I might be smirking and coughing, hitting the cough button. Isle of Man, Dick Grayson. That's from the Batman video we did.
I forgot that was still there.
It sounds bad. You can change it to some unfinished business today. Eric, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you very much.
And Tom is joining us too. Whereabouts are you from again?
Norway.
I knew it was one of those places. Thank you for joining us too, Tom. So let's kick it off. Hans, why don't we start with you? What's one character or vehicle or playset? I mean, my video says characters. That's because there isn't enough room to say or vehicle or playset or situation or specter or this or that. I mean, it's inferred. But what's one character or thing that was on a cartoon or maybe, you know, like just a fun live action movie or whatever, comic from when you were growing up, and it's never been done? I'm talking not even, you know, everyone had those pencil top erasers in the 80s, but like not even that.
It's strange when we speak about toys that have never been made, because but I was growing up, I never had, you know, all that much. So the idea of, you know, achieving something that had never been made is also like a far cry. As you get older, of course, this becomes a much greater thing because you have more disposable income. So you tend to, when you see it, you get it. Mine, and you get it. But one thing I've never seen, and it's unfortunate that it never really happened, was it can be modern era or vintage era. I can choose whatever once it is. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're not strict here.
Okay, cool. One thing I've never seen and I've always wanted, and it's a strange thing to say, is I always wanted a Cobra figure of Raven from that one episode of GI Joe where Slipstream meets that other goods. I found that Cobra always had like a lack of female characters when I was growing up. There was only really ever Baroness, and I never had Zorana. I don't like the Dreadnought. Shh. Anyway, so the idea of Zorana, I was always like, you know, I've grown into them more and more recently. But when I was young, you know, these punks, they were so mean, and, you know, but they never made a Raven. And that was one episode that really made a strong impression on me, because it was, at least to me, the first time we'd ever seen a Viper character with no helmet on, and they'd been given a personality. Yeah. And I mean, I went so far as, I mean, for those who own a Strato Viper, that's kind of a feminine body. If you kind of look at the actual figure, it's got a very sleek figure. I actually took it apart and I put a Lady J head on it, and I use that a little bit as well. But that's about as far as I could have gone. Yeah. So a lot of those auxiliary characters, I'm talking Marina, Raven, that sort of thing. I mean, I never expect to see them even now, but who knows, with Super 7 doing all these obscure characters, maybe we might get one. I mean, the list goes on, but that will be the first one, at least to me. And that might seem really strange, but
not at all.
I like having supporting cast members in your stories.
No, that's not weird at all. I got a question for the whole panel here, and hi everyone in the live chat too. I wish I could get to all of your comments. I really do, but thank you all for popping in here. I'm just gonna Mark, good to see you. Ken, hi there. Gaz, good to see you. Brian, good to see you. I wish I could hit them all up. Don't take it personal. It's just we're a little busy here. But I wanted to ask the whole panel. Oh, Tom just dropped off. Cobra pilots. Is it just Wild Weasel? Did they ever have a single pilot with his own character and personality other than Wild Weasel? Because the Night Raven pilot was always just generic. And come to think of it, I think that's the case for every Cobra.
In the comics, there was Star Viper, Astro Viper, the one who piloted the Stellar Stiletto. He had a personality. I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah, that was cool in the comics how they did that. He didn't necessarily have a unique name like Wild Weasel, but Larry Hama would just take a dude and say, okay, even though you are Star Viper, you are this individual. Matt, how you doing? Good to see you.
Hey.
Talking about, we were just talking about Cobra pilots. Since you're a big Joe fan, maybe you can help us out with Han's biggest unfinished business was Raven, the female Night Raven pilot from that one episode. Awesome episode with Slipstream.
Yeah.
And I was asking, did they ever do a Cobra pilot like Wild Weasel, other than Wild Weasel, who's like his own dude? He's unique. He's not just a Viper.
There's I think it's Condor, who is it Condor?
He had a goatee, so that was a little unique. Yeah, I've got that. I got to go and grab it. Talk amongst yourselves.
I was part of the uniform. You couldn't pilot a Condor unless you had a goatee. And if you couldn't grow a goatee, you couldn't pilot.
It was the pilot it was the Condor pilot, but it was, I think, just a Viper, right? Like he was just some sort of a Viper.
What was his?
If I remember right.
I know.
Yeah, they
Viper.
needed almost like a Red Baron type on the Cobras. Somebody that was like the star pilot guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this thing is so gorgeous.
Oh, that is cool.
Joe fans, don't sleep on this. This is something that I passed on for years and years. When it first came out, I saw it and went, that's weird. I'm good. And I didn't get it until maybe a year or two ago when I was, trying to weigh Battle Force 2000, Condor. I don't know. They're all weird, but when I got it in my hands, I went, how wrong I've been for decades and decades. This thing is absolutely, it's up there. Maybe.
Yeah. So yeah, he was just an Aero Viper. Yeah. So like he wasn't like a specific, but he looks awfully specific, like you said, right? Like
he's got a goatee.
Yeah.
Which I don't have the vintage one in here. I've got them tucked away somewhere else. But yeah, it's weird. They only did that one other time. I think it was the Rock Viper. They gave him a mustache.
It's part of the uniform.
Which is weird. Which is weird. You will be a Rock Viper. You must grow out your mustache.
Need something to twirl.
But Micah's here too. How you doing, good brother?
I think you're right. I don't think there is a named Cobra pilot. Yeah, I think they're all Vipers.
So Wild Weasel's the only one, which makes him more special, right?
Yeah.
But I'm with you on that, Hans. The Raven pilot, that would be cool. And then the MacGuffin device, which once upon a Joe, Matt, we did the commentary with Adam not too long ago. Those numbnuts at the beginning of the episode, kind of the Laurel and Hardy of Raven pilots, the tall, thin one, and then the short, squat one. That would be an amazing 2-pack to see those two guys.
Actually, the Hurricane, which is another great later vehicle, the pilot was named Vapor.
Yeah, Vapor, not Vesper. Right?
Was he?
All right, that's another one I'm not too familiar with.
So that would maybe. I'm referencing my handy dandy.
This guy.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, you got him. Okay, let me go.
Oh, nice.
Figure out how to go full screen on you, your Hans. Solo layout. We might just keep it like this for the rest of the stream. So he's called Vapor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
According to his file card, he had what's it called again? Cybernetic shunts implanted into his head to allow him to be like the best pilot. But it used to, of course, in standard Cobra technology. It used to give him horrible headaches and kind of damage him over long periods of time. But it's Cobra. They don't really care. Make another one.
He looks a little like a Borg. What year did he come out? Be a Borg stand-in.
The red underpants was a bit of a cringe
that's a
decision,
little,
you know?
Yeah.
But it was the 90s, you know, a
He's
lot of
masked.
things were cool.
He's masked, so he could be a generic Viper.
Right.
Like you could have 10 of them and put one at the front and say, this is the main guy and everyone else is the, like, that's the advantage of not having anything distinctive, like a freaking mustache. Are you kidding me?
Well, it makes me wonder if the reason they did that, I mean, I guess it's a little different for the Joes, but you know, the Cobra vehicles in a big way were just kind of cannon fodder. So I wonder if they got tired of figuring out, like, okay, how can we make sure this pilot survives?
Yeah, that's true. Eric, what's your biggest? I have a feeling I know what it is.
Well, so actually, there's a couple, and I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Yeah.
When
I wanted to mention before we get into that, you had mentioned the D&D animated crew.
Yeah.
And I saw a bunch of people mention that too. So I was thinking, like, they did that, didn't they? No, they did D&D toy, but not the show.
Yeah, they never did. They never did the main cast. They had the advanced Dungeons and Dragons figures with like Warduke, I think is one of the ones that everyone always loves. But they never did the cast of the TV show, which was just, I thought, criminal, because that was a fantastic cartoon. Whether or not you like Dungeons and Dragons, it was a great show.
Yeah, we got to do a commentary someday because I've never seen it.
Oh, it's good. Yeah. And there's like a lost third season or something like that where they finished up the remainder of the show, basically in like a narrated storyboard format, basically, and explain like what happens to the kids and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that the closest they ever got, there were like PVC statues that they released in like Brazil or something like that. That's the closest they ever got to that.
What was the episode count on that show?
I think they did. Hans looked like he knew. I think there was like 2.5 seasons, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was 33 or 34 episodes or something.
Oh, substantial! I got to get into that.
Oh, it's great. It actually still holds up. You watch it today, and it's still fairly good.
And I think Peter Cullen is actually the voice of the
Oh, cool.
The first time you hear him as a villain, he's a mean guy when he's a villain.
Yeah, it was a Avenger, right?
Avenger.
Yeah, Avenger.
Ken says, does Destro V2 and his despoiler count? If it does to you, it does to you. That's cool. It doesn't to me, because that's more about Destro plus a bonus than him being a pilot. You know, he could have come with a toilet. It wouldn't matter. Like, it's just an accessory for him. Dave has a great one here. This guy just missed the list. Hector Ramirez.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That covers like 8 shows if you do a Hector Ramirez. The guy was in everything in Sunbow.
All those auxiliary characters. I mean, you know what's funny? I don't like those 5-point of articulation characters usually, but if they released the Hector Ramirez in those, I would get it for sure and play with them.
Sunbow has really stumbled on something really, really good here. I mean, we all said that, right? I said it when I first saw him. Like, okay, that's not for me, but go and have fun. Who am I to rain on your 5 POA parade? And then they started doing those obscure characters. I'm like, oh, I see what you're doing here. I'm seeing, because there's no other way. It's not like we're going to be seeing those O-rings hang from a Walmart. But if there's no other way, then do a Raven 5 POA. Like, and I think Brian Flynn is the guy to do that. I wanted to do this in front of my classics because I want to give a shout out to Scott Knight. Like, he's the other guy who got a lot of unfinished business finished. I can't think of a line that did more unfinished business than classics, which Scott Knightlick was the head of. Granomir. We finally got a Granomir figure. The dragon from He-Man and She-Ra. It is so beautiful. And they did this one and the green version from the comics.
Wow.
They did Marlena, Queen Marlena, finally. Never had a Queen Marlena, and that was a 2-4. Marlena came with Cringer, who had never had like an actual proper, not just Battle Cat with the armor removed, but an actual Cringer. So Masters of the Universe Classics, it is an amazing line, an incredible balancing act. If you can think of a toy line like it, let me know, but I can't think of another toy line that did a better balancing act of getting the greatest hits in there, the ones everyone wants, like Fisto and He-Man, but also sneaking in guys like Icer, you know, like those long time characters that we had never gotten before. General Sunder from She-Ra, one of the Horde commanders. I love looking at this wall because it's a beautiful mix of the big hits and I love the obscure. So that line did a fantastic job of sneaking them all in together. Eric, we cut you off. So sorry. You're going into your unfinished business list.
No worries. We're all there. Dungeons and Dragons. Do you want the other one? So
Yeah.
we talking about? Okay. So, and I'm sure somebody else here remembers this. I was a huge, like when I was a kid, it was all Star Wars and giant robots. I've told that tons of times.
Yeah.
Mighty Orbots was one of my other favorite cartoons.
Wow.
And they had a toy in prototype stage, and it was based on Godmars, the Godmars robot. That was the one they were planning on, essentially like licensing for it. But they never released a true Mighty Orbots toy. And unfortunately, they probably, you know, if they were going to, they never would have, because the show was basically sued out of existence. But that was a shame, because I loved that show. That was such a good show. That's another one that really holds up today.
I had never heard of Mighty Orbots, and then Toy Galaxy did a feature on them some time back, and it's like, Mighty Orb. There's still stuff out there that I've literally never even heard in passing. And that's a great thing that I love so much about particularly 80s toys. I love comics too, but 80s toys is that like rabbit hole that you can find out, okay, here's this thing. You never knew about it. And there was maybe 30 episodes, maybe there were 60 episodes of a show. So it's not even like in Humanoids where it's like 12 to 13 episodes. 60 episodes, so that's a substantial amount of time you can sit down and watch and get to know characters and situations. It's animated, so the sky's the limit. And there's potentially a toy line too, not in Mighty Orbot's case. But a lot of the time, like you can, you know, the person who knows absolutely nothing about Brave Star, holy smokes, if you get into that, you're gonna walk out of your Brave Star experience very, very satisfied, because it's one of the best shows ever. The toys are okay, but and it's one of the best heroes, quite honestly. And touched on Shaman in my list yesterday too. So that's why I'm such a huge fan of toy collecting, because you can discover this stuff and walk away from it so satisfied.
Yeah.
Matt, sorry to keep you waiting. Unfinished business.
You know, honestly, I don't really have any major standouts. I was actually looking on 3D Joe's. If you look at I'm sure a lot of us have heard over the years, the rumors with this, but the Cobra Island playset that was rumored. It's on the 3D Joe's page. A lot of kind of the concept art. You know, after I heard about that, I was like, yeah, I kind of want that. The other thing was there was also this Cobra sub that was also planned for production, and again, after seeing the artwork for it, I think that would be just awesome to have. The one that I always kind of think about is at the beginning of the cartoon, they have the big Cobra shaped ship, but what how would you do that, right?
Yeah,
I always thought it'd be cool to have that, but I don't think it's even feasible. But yeah, the Cobra Island playset I think would be awesome, and I would love to see that maybe done. I don't know, that probably not HasLab material, but could be HasLab material.
That makes me think of this one right here. Cobra Conquest of Cobra Mountain. That scratched an itch for me because I always wanted a Cobra Island or something like that.
Sure.
And then this came out long time ago now, to make you feel old, 2000s. But that did the trick. I'm like, yeah, that should have come out in the 80s and that'll work. And I picked it up last year, and it's okay because of when it was made. It wasn't made in the 80s or even 90s. So it's kind of, the quality of it is a little lower than what we're used to, what we grew up on. The plastic quality is a little lower, but still it's a big chunk of Cobra Mountain that you can just stick. I'm planning on sticking it beside my Terror Room once I have everything rearranged here. I'm working on a new display where my Joe stuff can be properly just take up an entire wall. And even though this is a more modern item, it just totally does the trick in terms of like, you know, it's really the only other big Cobra base along with the Teardrum.
Yeah, I always felt like Cobra got a little slighted in terms of big stuff. So yeah,
You want to say something crazy about that playset? I don't know if it's common knowledge, but that's actually a Star Wars playset that they redid for GI Joe.
No,
really?
If you have it out, look in the back, you'll see a destroyed battle droid on the ground, sculpted into the ground.
no way.
So it's actually supposed to be Geonosis, I believe, if memory serves.
That makes sense.
That looks like it could be Geonosis. Yeah, now that you mention it.
Oh well,
that's pretty funny.
I mean, that's that. All the toy lines were basically rooted in that, right? Like jerry rigging it out of MacGyvering it out of other toy lines. Yeah. So that follows. The color scheme is fantastic, though.
I do actually. Now that I did think of, I've always wanted a transformed Cobra Commander, like an O-ring, like from like the movie, the animated movie. I know there's been a few customs over the years that have come out that look pretty good, but I always wanted one of those. And then I also wanted an O-ring Pythona. I always felt like those were too lacking, like, you know, as a part of the
Nemesis Enforcer and the Cobra.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
And I did notice your Rocky, your GI Joe Rocky.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. One of first comments on the stream today. See if I can find it.
Yeah, that
was actually the very first. Jason Bell said, "Always wanted the Rocky physical trainer for GI Joe." And where are you? There you go.
Yeah.
They did the art. They did an entry in. It was like the file card comic where. They wrote up bios for all of the Joes and open image in new. Here we go. Yeah, so the story for the 1000th time for everyone who knows the story already, but for the 4 people out there who haven't heard it, Rocky was supposed to be a GI Joe, and Big Boa, I think, was his nemesis. They were going to kind of go hand in hand. And Mr. Stallone signed a deal with Coleco instead to do Rambo. Well, not instead. He did a deal with Coleco to do Rambo figures, which had his likeness. And then Hasbro said, "We're not doing Rocky if you're doing Rambo with a competitor," which they could have. And why not? And would it have really been that bad? But, you know, that makes sense to me too, why they would do it. I see it both ways, which I guess is an issue with some people who are trying to understand the toy industry. You can't really see both sides. It's always like very vehemently one side or the other. And I get it. I mean, yeah, it's the guy turns around and does a deal with a competitor. So you pull the plug on him. But that's always been an itch for a lot of Joe fans, because as soon as the art is done and you're looking at it, it's like, oh, come on.
Just do the thing. Come on.
They missed the boat, man. Rocky here. He would have been a real force for freedom, right?
Oh, I see what you did there. Oh.
And it's again so close and yet so far, because wouldn't Rambo make more sense as a Joe? You know, and
it wouldn't, because then you wouldn't need the team. It would just be Rambo.
Well, there you go, right?
Rambo and his cheerleaders.
Colonel Sharp disbands Rambo, and instead will just employ, or Colonel Sharp disbands GI Joe, and he just uses Rambo instead. I wish that I could watch the old Rambo Force of Freedom cartoon, which Eric and I did a couple of years ago. I wish I could watch it as kind of a supplement to GI Joe. Rambo Force of Freedom is not a GI Joe supplement. It is
Rambo. GI Joe needs you.
It is god awful in the best possible way. It's hilarious, but Rambo sneaking up on people movie style, but then just throwing them to the ground.
Yeah.
All he does is throw them to the ground, and they sit there and they look at him in terror, and then he runs away.
Yeah, but he was angry when he did it, kind of.
What used to get me about that show is that all the equipment was real. Those guys were carrying AKs. That was a tank that existed. Those were real, and I like that.
The sound effects too. It was weird. It's like going back to watching the M.A.S.K device which is the only GI Joe episodes where those sound like real guns. What's going
Those were
on?
guns. Yep.
Those aren't lasers. That's weird. And they changed that pretty darn fast. But Rambo has the realistic sounding guns. I'm like, this show couldn't be more goofy and not realistic, but everything sounds like authentic and genuine. And the music will mess you up too, if you're a Rambo fan, because it's the music. It's Goldsmith, Jerry Goldsmith music, not like a cover. It's Jerry Goldsmith's score from the Rambo movies in the cartoon.
Rather dramatic for a cartoon. It's good. It's a
The first 4 episodes of that series, where General Warhawk tries to take over Sierra Leone or whatever little country.
Sierra Libre.
That's it. Sierra Libre. Yeah, that was. I mean, when you look back on it now, that would never get made nowadays. That is a full-on invasion and war scenario. That's hard to.
A lot of stuff would never get made these days. People politely disagreeing wouldn't get made because it'll trigger some people. Damnation Alley Landmaster. I don't know what that is. Anyone else? Is that some unfinished business? Drawing a blank there. Somebody make a custom Rocky figure. I also saw somebody do a Snake Plissken. Snake was unfinished business for a long time.
Yeah.
So I want to throw out a couple of pieces of previously unfinished business that have been finished. So if sorry if I missed some in the comments there, but if there's something that's never been done, feel free to keep throwing it out there. But I want to take a minute to talk about a few things that have only been done once. Finished business. This is the only Granomir, along with the green Granomir, that was done too. And there's a couple of other figures that have finally been just recently finished, like Mandora, the Evil Chaser. That's why I did that list yesterday. I felt like I got to get this done because they're knocking off my choices. Like I'm happy they're doing them, but there's not going to be a list in a year if I keep waiting on this. So Mandora was another huge one. And then when I saw them do the bike, they're doing the Electrocharger bike too. Like, oh my God, who is running Super 7? Thank you. Like, this is just a guy who is scratching all those itches for himself, but also for other people too. That was the top of my Thundercats list, getting Mandora and then her bike. I never thought we'd see the bike. Lucky to get Mandora, but we'll never get that bike, and they're doing the bike. So that is pretty awesome. But if you can think of some other toys that you finally got it in your hand, you were like, oh, it's about time. Another one that just came in this week. Greenlight's Green Monaco from Hunter. Not really a toy, but it's a 1/18 scale die-cast vehicle. Greenlight is right up there with Super 7 for getting some unfinished business done. I love Hunter, the TV show, and they have done so many great all scales. So whatever your budget is, 1/18th, 1/24, the little ones too, even the little Matchbox size 1/64. I look over at my 80s TV shelf, and there's quite a bit of unfinished business thanks to Greenlight. They did an A-Team van that was much more affordable than the Hot Wheels one that was done a while back. They did the Faceman's Corvette too, the Fall Guy truck, which was an absolute nightmare to take out and to put together. I gotta say, Greenlight's packaging is a lot better than it was on that Fall Guy truck. Styrofoam in there, nice and secure, and nothing's gonna get
there are a whole bunch of, like, Jada and a lot of other companies now are doing all those stuff like the Mad Max Interceptor and all those things for a long time were kind of hard to get. And I don't know if it's visible back here at all, probably not. But like, I've been filling up my Hollywood garage back here slowly but surely with all the stuff that, like the Ecto one and, the DeLorean from Back to the Future, all these stuff that, for the longest time, you couldn't really get any of that stuff. So yeah, there's some really good ones. The one, though, I'll tell you, one of those that I would love to see is the black Lamborghini from Automan, the one that's got the You know,
Yeah.
do you remember that show, Automan?
Yes, the Tron show, basically.
Basically, yeah. But that you know, all the vehicles, they're basically painted, the real world vehicles painted black with the glowing outlines all over them, and the Lamborghini looked so cool. It was basically a Countach, I think, without the rear spoiler, with the lights around it. But that'd be really fun.
Automan, for anyone who doesn't know Automan, it was a short run show in the 80s. And if you love Tron, especially the first Tron, because it's kind of like how Battlestar Galactica, the original one, goes with Star Wars. Battlestar was spawned by Star Wars. Automan was spawned by Tron. And it just watch that show and I go, how was this a TV show back in the 80s? This is impossible. Like they worked so hard and paid so much money to get the movie done. How was this a TV show around the same time? Is it Chuck Connors?
No, oh gosh, Chuck something.
He's awesome though.
yeah.
The actual Automan on the show is really cool too.
I thought it started with a Y. Gosh.
While you're doing that, I've got Rodimus is saying a piece of finished business for him, recently finished business, I guess we should call it. The new Stunticons in the Legacy line. So some more modern Transformers are scratching that itch and just finally doing something that people have been wanting for a very long time.
Chuck Wagner, by the way.
Chuck Wagner. What a name.
Yeah.
Chuck Wagner.
You know, they actually did a figure of Automan. It was never, I think it was available in like the UK and South America. It was never available in America, but that is actually not unfinished business because there is a toy of that out there.
I'm going to look that up right now.
Sorry, go ahead.
Like that was a vintage figure?
It was a vintage figure, yeah. It was like a 4-inch figure, a little bit larger than like a 3.75 5 POA. But I've actually tried. Yep, there it is.
Chuck Wagner is Automan.
Yeah, the one and only Automan figure. But I tried to find that many times, and I think it's really expensive, and even the ones that are really expensive are in awful shape. So
is that 4 inches?
I think it's like a little bit bigger than a 3.75. It's like a 4 or 5 inch, something like that. Yeah, I've never actually seen one in person, but I do know it's larger.
Want to do an Automan commentary someday?
I would. Yeah, I love that show. That was one of my favorite shows when I was a kid, like that and Knight Rider.
One thing I'm very grateful for this channel and for all of the audience of this channel is obviously people like to see the popular stuff, the well-known stuff, but I feel very lucky to be able to show, like, boost the signal of stuff like Automan and Street Hawk. Street Hawk is Knight Rider with a motorcycle, and that theme song is one of the best 80s theme songs ever. I was talking earlier about going down the rabbit hole of something you've never heard of and don't know anything about, and then just being blown away by it. Not every hidden gem thing that no one knows about or not a lot of people know about is mediocre. Some of the stuff is actually really awesome, and somehow it just didn't catch fire. But the Street Hawk theme is by Tangerine Dream.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'd never heard of Street Hawk. I never saw any of it, and it was just a few years ago I checked it out for the first time, and that theme song, no. Yeah, if you love Airwolf and Knight Rider, you owe it to yourself to check out at least an episode of Street Hawk. Jesse Mock is the rider of Street Hawk. He is so Hasselhoff, and it's incredible to find out they're actually buddies. Rex Smith, I think his name was. He was Daredevil on the Incredible Hulk TV movie that had Daredevil. So Daredevil was on a Hulk TV movie with Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby. And the guy who was Street Hawk was Daredevil in that episode. But he's so just not as Hoff. He doesn't, he doesn't lay it on as thick as David Hasselhoff, but they're definitely in the same spectrum. And you'll see some really surprising cameo appearances, guest star appearances on Street Hawk 2. The most surprising to me was George Clooney shows up in an episode of Street Hawk. That's pretty cool. Obi is here. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Obi, what's up, man?
What's your unfinished business? Or we're also talking about recently finished business. So if there's just recently been a toy done that you've wanted, for so very, very long, let's not just always, be wanting something and when are they going to do this, but also show some appreciation. Like I said earlier, to Mr. Scott Knightlick, who finished a lot of business for me with the Classics line, and Brian Flynn is doing it with Super 7 too, getting a lot of those, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. I just picked that up, Matt. I grabbed the Arctic set at Heroes Comics in London, and I got it because of you. Never would have picked it up, unless you showed it off to me, and I was like, I didn't know I needed it. But Yo Snow.
Well, that's the thing. Like with Reaction and Super 7 and all those lines are doing so many of those, and I think because they're collector focused anyways, they have the audience that's going to be interested in a lot of those characters, like Goonies figures and to some degree Back to the Future. And I mean, you were talking Snake Plissken. One of the ones I bought, one of the Reaction line was their Escape from New York Snake Plissken. They'd been doing a bunch of these things that would pop up, and you'd see them occasionally. It's like, oh my gosh, they made this. So that's why I keep, I have hope that one of these days they'll secure that license. I don't know if they just have trouble getting it, or I don't know who is it. Is it still Wizards of the Coast that owns Dungeons and Dragons now? I think they had bought it at one time, but I don't know, there's got to be some reason that nobody's released that.
As long as it's not Harmony Gold.
Yeah. Let's keep this property intentionally buried for years.
Harmony Gold, that's the problem. And if this channel gets deleted tomorrow, it's probably because of Harmony Gold, because they work their legal magic. Ryback Rules says Big Lob, gotta get him. He's finished. He's 2 times over finished business. There was the club exclusive, which I had, and I sold because it was finished, but it wasn't good enough because it was just reusing. They used Mercer's head and parts from all other Joes and recolored them. So it's nice that he's there, but it just, to me, wasn't good enough. And then they did the really awesome modern one. I think that's the one right there. That's more like it. Super tall, taller than other modern Joes. And that's the one that I still have. Really nice to finally see Big Lob make his move.
I don't know. I don't know. I assume at least a lot of people know about Johnny Quest. Like Johnny Quest, like I was watching it recently. All of it, all 60 whatever episodes from beginning all the way to the new adventures, and like that. I don't think they had a toy line for it, but it was really quite awful. And I feel, at least to me, I would have loved that series to have gotten some justice. And as I'm on the new adventures of Johnny Quest, it leads right into another really good series, at least in my opinion, was SWAT Cats. SWAT Cats, like maybe 3 figures, and to me at least, the animation and the dark tones and all that sort of thing for that series, it very much fit with the Batman of the time, Bruce Timm's Batman, and it never got the justice in the toy aisles or anywhere, I find. And I hear they're trying to redo it now, but man, I would have killed in those days for a Turbo Cat Jet, or even the Questor from, Questor 1 from Johnny Quest. Those were, and they just don't make them like that anymore. And I wish they did, with the shows at least. I mean, nowadays, because those were perfect examples of heroes in dark universes who kept their heroic demeanors, and they were champs. There it is. They were champs. But nowadays, we kind of have things where, unfortunately, the heroes are in a dark universe, and the heroes are displaying many qualities that resemble villains. And they kind of get mad in it, which I don't 100% love. Heroes should be heroes. That's what makes them,
It'd be really cool though. Looking at this is a Mego style Johnny Quest line. Imagine all the Johnny Quest lines. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I'd take it.
That would work so well.
Tell me about Johnny Quest, because I know nothing about it. Was this an 80s cartoon?
This was a cartoon that started off in the 80s and it continued all the way into the 90s. It's about a doctor, Dr. Quest, as well as his son, who's the blonde gentleman in the front. his friend Haji, who is a prince from India, and their good friend / bodyguard Race Bannon, and their dog Bandit. And they basically went all around the world having various adventures. And what was nice about the adventures they had is there were some recurring villains, but the majority of the villains they faced were actually almost Lovecraftian in nature. It wasn't like Scooby-Doo where they pulled the mask off and it's really Mr. John. No, that was a demon that you were fighting in this episode. And what kills is at the end is that more often than not, they didn't defeat the demon. It's still there. They just happened to escape. So most of the show was very dark in tone, even though at the end they would all laugh like, oh, Johnny, haha. And that's the end. But the last scene would always be the demon still alive or whatever. And it was 60-something episodes of it. And then, of course, it was Hanna-Barbera redid it with superior animation, and the stories retained their dark nature. The characters all retained their kind of heroics, and it really is nice because you get to see it span generations, a classic generation all the way up into a modern, and it was just good old-fashioned fun. And the storytelling was complex, dialogue complex, everything was. They didn't treat the audience like they were children. And I always appreciate that when a show is not disrespectful to its audience. It allows a child a chance to absorb complex ideas and storylines and take what they want from them. And it's not afraid to scare them. And I like that. You know, they didn't treat them like they were made of paper. Yeah, mid-60s. It's old.
64 and 65.
There you go.
Map Room Gaming just noted, and I had no idea, obviously, there is a Mego, Johnny, a modern Mego Johnny Quest line. Yeah, I was shocked too. I looked up pictures, and I've never seen it before, ever. That's
unknown,
incredible.
Unfinished business.
Yeah, is that crazy?
Finished. Oh my gosh!
Holy crap! Are you kidding me?
That's cool.
There you go.
I had no idea this existed.
Oh god, they're gonna be expensive now, though.
Isn't that just weird? I mean, think of so many things. You're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if this existed? It's like it does.
You just cost Hans probably $300.
$300 a piece.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah, eBay, here I come right now.
It's kind of funny how that sometimes happens, where you go from 0 to 1,000. Literally 1,000, like you can have nothing, and then here you go, the thing you've always wanted, and you'll have to, sell your right arm in order to get it. But man, that's a cool feeling to finally.
I like
laughing, but the math is happening in my head right now. It's just.
Yeah, I can just see your wallet opening and
Super Friends too. Mego's another one that's really finished a lot of unfinished business. Things just kind of sneak out as a Mego figure too. And it's it's not really my thing, but John Nada, for example, Roddy Piper from They Live, when that came out, I think it was last year. Not a Mego guy, but I'm getting the only John Nada figure in existence for sure, absolutely. And then they did one that I actually prefer, the wrestling Roddy Piper John Nada figure, which obviously didn't come with a gun because it's officially a wrestling figure. But I gave him the NECA Mego John Nada gun.
You just jogged my memory a little bit. If they did a limited line of all the characters from the Running Man, I would buy all those.
Running Man. That was a great movie. Very marketable, which they didn't do any marketing.
Well, they've certainly made toys from more adult-centric movies, so why not, right?
Is this real? I think this is a custom.
Looks like a custom to me.
It's for sale on eBay for $250, so I think it's a short run, top grade fan made custom. But I mean, that's cool to see Arnie in the yellow suit on a card. Never been done. I mean, you could do a lot of teams going back to 80s movies. We've never seen the Predator team. We've gotten Arnie from Predator, Dutch. Hot Toys has done a few of them. They did Billy. Always wanted a Blaine, but just the whole team from Predator would be cool. what else? I mentioned in the list Boddicker. Like there are some really, really peculiar characters out there who have never had any merchandising. Can you believe that the villain from the first RoboCop movie has never had anything? He hasn't even had a Funko Pop. He's never even had a Mego. There is no Clarence Boddicker figure.
That's weird. Yeah.
Ever. Weird.
Now,
suited villain figures. You know what I mean? They don't make for good figures. It's like a man in a suit. Dun dun dun. You know what I mean?
You can spruce Clarence up though, have his tongue out and a grenade. You know, have him come with some coke, come with some whores,
and probably
is a plan to die.
Yeah. Yeah, Clarence, you could have a lot of fun with if you did it as like an adult, you know, 18 and up set. You could have a lot of fun with a Clarence Boddicker figure. Just, you know, like, yeah, have him come with the whole set, you know, with the table with coke and like, just, it's not a kid's toy at all. Although in that cartoon, it was pretty surreal seeing Clarence animated, and
and they recreate the scene. They recreate his death scene. That was the part that got me. It was like, I mean, it was obviously watered down, but the fact that they're showing from like POV Clarence Boddicker leveling his gun at Murphy essentially, and
fun's
like,
over.
Yeah, wow, we're stepping it up.
You know, how you doing, Lou? Good to see you. Merry Christmas or Happy Easter. And the thing about Boddicker is, like, when I watch some of these cartoons that are based on R-rated movies, you lose everything that was awesome about the movie. Like Rambo there's not much about the movie that survives in the cartoon. They've really cleaned up the vet with PTSD, you know, who just wants to be left alone. Rambo is the personification of that old saying, you just want to leave the quiet ones alone, right? Just leave them alone, because if you push it, they'll give you a war you won't believe. So RoboCop, they make a cartoon out of it. It's nothing like the show, and it's cleaned up, it's homogenized, it's RoboCop in name only. And then Eric and I watched this episode with Boddicker, and I'm like, this is Boddicker. Like, they won't let him swear, they won't let him mutilate people, but somehow this character is retaining his Clarence Boddicker-ness, you know, against all odds. The manic magic of Clarence Boddicker, Red Foreman, is in that episode. I'm like, this shouldn't work, but by cracky, that is one of the best animated villains I've ever seen in anything, even if it's just one episode.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of
well, the fact that they just did it for one episode, it didn't make any, like, he never returned. It was obviously somebody just saying like, hey, we got to tie this up.
Yeah.
Like,
we're out of time. We're out of time. And he's in the intro. He's in every intro of all, you know, 13 episodes or so. So it's not like they were trying to get the rights, you know, the rights to Kurtwood Smith. I can just imagine Kurtwood sitting at home with his feet up on his desk, smoking a stogie. Tell him no. No likeness rights.
This is one of those conversations that you begin with people and you suddenly realize a lot of things. Because I'm thinking, oh, you know, they never made a Space Ghost. They never made the Flintstones. And I'm like typing it on my machine over there. I'm like, oh my gosh.
They did.
After buying the Johnny Quest things, now I'm going to be so broke. I'm finding Space Ghost and Maitor and all these old figures that I just never knew existed and I'd never seen in toy stores, and now here they are.
So how about this then? Because there's a lot of lines they've done and a lot of stuff, but like if you talk about maybe toys that should have had a second wave. Because I know, like, one of the ones that I always wished they had more figures for were Tron figures, right? Yeah. But then there's somebody, and I forget what is it, Toy Weaver? There's somebody on Instagram that actually did a second. They I believe they called him End of Line, that Tron End of Line, where he did like Yori, Ram, one of the tank pilots, and Clue, and they're gorgeous. And if there was a line that they need to do a second line of, it's that. And especially the ones this guy did custom, they look so good. They're prohibitively expensive. Like I think it's like something like $300 for a set of them or something like that. But I don't think I would ever pay that. But oh my gosh, if NECA would do, continue their line, the retro versions, they redid the retro reissues of the original ones. I would love to see those.
I wish I could find the picture of them. I saw them on Facebook a while back, and they
Yeah.
look amazing. It's a tough thing to do when you are completing an original line that was left dangling. But when I saw those Tron figures, I'm like, yes. It's not rocket science with Tron. It just get the other colors in translucent. We saw the original ones gave us a yellow clue in translucent, even if it's a recolor of Flynn. It's not really a big deal. Ryback is another awesome one. My God, Buckaroo Banzai.
Wow.
That would be if it was a 4-inch figure, the packaging should be this huge on a bubble with all of the crap he would come with, like operating equipment, guitar, sword. For people who don't know Buckaroo Banzai, he was played by Peter Weller, Robocop, and he's everything. If you can think of an occupation, he's it. Artist, poet, experimental race car driver. Like the first 10 minutes of the movie is hilarious because it literally is him going from testing an experimental hyperspace teleporting car to surgery, like brain surgery, to I got a concert to get to. And he goes and plays a rock concert. So there's never been, as far as I know, again, sometimes all you need to do is Google it and you find out, but as far as I know, Buckaroo Banzai has never had anything. And Jake throws out Thundarr was a cartoon that was never, that's a whole other discussion. Cartoons that never had their proper ending. But Thundarr, sorry to everyone's wallet who's a Thundarr fan.
Pirates of Dark Water. Finish it.
Yeah. But Toynami did some amazing Thundarr figures not too long ago, and they are really expensive now. They look fantastic. But good old Buzz Dixon worked on that one too. Thundarr the Barbarian.
I sent you a link, by the way, in the private chat, Mike.
Yep.
You're looking for those end of line figures.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I definitely want to show those. Oh, I don't think I'll share these. Just keep them to myself here.
I made a mistake.
So
one of
good.
them, one of them is Infiltrator Flynn, but he later did the tank pilot as an additional figure. It wasn't part of this line, but how pretty are those? And those are all ones that I would have just loved to have had.
That's Toy Weaver Customs. Don't know if they're still for sale, but hats off to you, sir. That is some beautiful top grade fan made. At least the picture looks fantastic there. And Yori, that was another thing I noticed going through my list. The 80s started out okay with the female figures. They weren't taboo. And companies didn't seem too hesitant to put a female figure on the shelf. But then along the way, they kind of backed off of it, and you saw lines like GI Joe never had a problem doing a female figure. After Jinx, that's it. No more female figures after 1987, really, until they, did the Ninja Scarlet and stuff. But there was a definite chunk in the late 80s where they weren't doing it. And the Visionaries didn't do either of the gals. Cops had a bunch of female characters, didn't do a single one. Cops is particularly strange to me because they did a lot of Cops over 2 years. It lasted 2 series, and we didn't get a single female figure in Cops. So that to me says there's something up. Like they couldn't squeeze in Mainframe in one, or Misdemeanor in like one slot over 2 years of Cops. Something was up at Hasbro. And then even He-Man, they did a Sorceress late in the line, so Mattel was still on board with it, but Hasbro definitely shied off in the later years.
That was actually somewhere where I think Hasbro in the beginning and Joe, they were actually really progressive that way. If you think about how many women made up that original line, there was the in the first 3 years there was Baroness, Lady J, Scarlet, CoverGirl, Jinx, right? They're and I think there's some I'm missing. Zorana,
Quarrel.
Quarrel in the UK, yes. Good one.
Dana never got a figure, but Dana was part of the mythology strongly. So they were a lot. Candy and all of them, and what was nice is that they weren't just kidnap bait. They were actual characters with skills and talents. You know what I mean?
Someone earlier in the chat mentioned Satine from one of the, I think it was Pyramid of Darkness. She's the one I think that hooks up Matt, Shipwreck and Snake Eyes. That might be like a whole multi-pack come out with Disguised Timber. Actually, are they doing that? Is Super 7 doing the...
They haven't announced it, but I have a feeling that's going to be covered. And then Cold Slither.
Oh my God, please. We need Cold Slither, yeah. The Dreadnoughts has the rock band.
I'd buy a Honolulu any day, you know what I mean?
Well, what's awesome was, didn't they? I think they made reaction versions of the Gem and the Holograms, right? And the Misfits.
Yeah,
that'd be a great set altogether.
Only two. So far, they've only done Gem and one of the Misfits. And I grabbed them because they're awesome looking figures, especially to keep men on card because the cards are like foil. They got like foil, shiny, metallic look to them. Yeah. So if you're not a big fan of 5 POA, you're definitely going to want to keep those sealed and just have it basically be a piece of 3D artwork. But a set of Cold Slither, if they could do, I mean, not just talking about figures, but a stage, do them as a box set, kind of like the one that Matt showed earlier. Super 7 did that Huskies set. If they, doesn't have to be ginormous. We're not talking about like a giant terror drome, play set. Not a lot of people want that anyway, but just about that size, coming in, at well under $100, regardless of what country you're in. It's a stage with Cold Slither, and I don't know if this pushes the price over, but some lights, just those spotlights. And is it too much to ask for a voice clip where you press the button and Cold Slither plays? If you can't do that, I mean, everyone's basically got a little radio, but have it somehow accessible, scan this QR code with your phone to download a clean version of Cold Slither from Hasbro Pulse. And I don't know, if you can't do the audio portion of it, just have a little spot. Maybe a spot for your phone. I've seen some Transformers fan-made bases do that. Spot where you put your phone in, and it'll play Cold Slither with like a light show.
Little augmented reality thing going on. That would be cool.
Throwing some ideas out there for the Hasbro, the amazing Hasbro Pulse team. We're Cold Slither. That's a particular moment where it's not enough for me, and maybe it's going to be the same for some other people out there, but it's not enough to just be plastic sitting there. That's lights and sounds, the band playing. So in terms of a display piece, Cold Slither set would need to have licensed sounds with it, not just sitting there holding guitars. So having the lights go and the sound blaring, and if you've got one of those like super bass boom boxes to hook up with it and just rattle your walls and have your toys flying off your shelves. We're Cold Slither. Da, 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 da. And you can have them on, like, your Joes can be the audience. You can just fill it up with hypnotized Joes listening to Cold Slither.
Well, I had to look at t-shirts because you kind of inspired me, and I think I just found a t-shirt that I need to get. I posted that in the chat too.
Okay. Let's take a peek here. Oh boy.
Yeah. There are a couple of really good ones.
Yes, that's
awesome.
awesome.
Pretty good. That is a cool shirt.
I'm going to show it off here for everyone else.
Yeah, I think I might need to order me that.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's actually, let me find it. There's actually a one that's like, I think kind of like the original logo style. Hold on here. Let me speak.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them up there. There's some great ones.
Hopefully we're giving some ideas to the folks who currently have the licenses for these properties. I don't know if anyone at Super 7 would be watching this, but if they are, first of all, hello, welcome, and thank you. And yeah, definitely. It's
one of the things that's so great is that, I mean, in a lot of ways, there's such a large kind of fan community now that you can get some of the stuff that it would have been really hard. I mean, if it doesn't exist and people want it, somebody else is gonna fill that need or fill the niche for it. Why not? Like if
one
it's
way
a
or another.
T-shirt or it's like if Hasbro hasn't made a Cold Slither T-shirt, well, I don't feel too bad buying one from a T Public or something like that. It's there's a lot of stuff like that.
It's the thing about third party or fan made, unofficial, unlicensed stuff. There's this attitude of, oh, it's not official, it's bootleg. Look, there's a lot of people out there who are 100% aboard with official stuff and aren't going to rush out and support, bootleg or unofficial stuff. But it's like 30 years goes by and they're not doing anything with it, and they won't do anything with it. And they, it's like, look, it's a short run. It's not going to topple $1 billion corporation. Someone doing a short run of, there's a ad pop up here, Cold Slither t-shirts.
Yeah.
So I don't know if these are official or not, but it's important to keep things in perspective and remember, look, there aren't 7 million of these shirts being printed off, and it's not going to put Hasbro out of business. Just relax.
Yeah. The way I always look at it is that if there's an official product and there's a way for me to pay for an official product, I will, because frankly, with official products, you get quality control. You get, there's a certain amount of guarantee and behind it. But if they haven't made it, I don't feel bad buying something else. It's like, it's like classic games. I like retro gaming. I'm really big on all that. If there's a way on a system for me to play an actual game, like say, I don't know, Mortal Kombat 2 is one of my favorite games, right? I still have the version I picked up that's the arcade version on my PS3, and I've never uninstalled it, and I've kept my PS3 because I've always had that.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't available there, I would not think twice about downloading a ROM for it. So that's how I see it.
I think a majority of people are like that, actually, because most of the people that I've talked to who are fans of cartoons and toys and comics and stuff, most of the people over the last 6 or 7 years have that exact attitude. They're like, look, I'd prefer the official way, but this is short run. It's not a big deal. And honestly, sometimes it opens the door for, letting the actual rights holders know that there is enough of a demand for this thing. Because the companies, we've seen it time and time again, we're like, no, there's no demand. Nope, there's no demand. And there's a large number of people are trying to say, look, there is just listen to us, just entertain it. Nope, there's no demand. Nope, no demand. And then someone does the unofficial one, and then the company goes, oh, I smell money, and that opened the door that otherwise never would have been opened, the forbidden door.
Nintendo did something where they launched a little system. It looked like a Super Nintendo with a ton of games on it. And I think it was $100 for the whole system. And I think it had like 300 games on it. I like that. I would have gotten that. But on Switch now, you can go on to the Nintendo official thing and you buy each game. Each game is like $15, $20. I don't know if I want to spend $50. Yeah, I know. $15, $20 per game. So it's one of those weird things that it's like, just as you said, I would love to go the official way. I would pay $100 for 300 games from the old 90s Super Nintendo game in a drop of a pin, no problem. But I'm not paying $20 per game. So of course,
seems like a lot.
The eye patch goes on and the pirate hat comes on, and then
I want to throw this out there. We're just going to shift, if you can indulge me for a few minutes here, from the unfinished business chat, bringing up paying for those games that you might have had all those years ago. I want to say hi to Zazel. How you doing? Sergeant Slaughterhouse. Check out his channel if you're a Sarge fan. So let's say you bought, I don't know, Streets of Rage for Sega Genesis all those years ago, and it's one of the keepers. It's one of the ones you'll play probably for the rest of your life. And then, well, it's not a Nintendo game, but let me use a Nintendo game then. Castlevania. So you love it, you've played it your whole life, and then it's available on that Wii store, or whatever you called it, for $15. Is that fair? Because you had it, you bought it, you owned it, it was for that platform at the time, but do you feel like, hey, I already bought this thing, like what the hey? It's kind of like when I buy a DVD set and then they do a Blu-ray set, and I'm like, okay, the quality is better, but I feel a little gypped here. I wouldn't have dropped $100 on the DVD set if I knew the Blu-ray was coming out for 140 1 year later. Like, do you do you get a discount?
See, I think you're hitting on a really, really interesting, I think it's a really deep ocean topic. You know, have you guys noticed that they aren't selling the digital content along with DVDs and stuff? You used to be able to get the digital copies, you know, that they'd sell, and you're not seeing those as much anymore. And that's because of the streaming world. So it used to be that for a while they were doing that thing where you'd buy a DVD and you get a code to download the film and everything. And I have a whole bunch of my big DVD collection. I always do it. Funny thing is that when I moved to the Isle of Man, and when I changed my Apple account over to UK account, which I had to do basically for work, it basically nixed like half of the movies because they weren't the digital content isn't the same over here. You know, it's like different laws, and so it was kind of said like, just FYI, you're going to lose access to like half your, you know, all these movies when you trade your account. And it was kind of like, well, I kind of had to, because I had to get into the UK stuff, the UK App Store for stuff for work. And so I was like, okay. So I switched it. And but that's the thing. It's like with that digital content, I mean, like if you'd bought the game and then you had the like, you know, rights, the end user rights to use it like wherever, that would be one thing. But that always changes. It's like, you know, copyright law is different everywhere and it's different globally. So it's, it would be neat. It'd be nice if you had a game and you could say like, okay, yeah, I could register this. I don't know, maybe that's what like blockchain is good for, and NFTs are good for. It's like saying I own this, and so therefore I get all of these down the road. Yeah, I think as we get move into like this digital world, I think that idea of, you know, having content that will just move on, I think is increasing. I think you're going to see that less and less, where we're going to have to like rebuy something in a whole different places. So.
That's great for the business world, but I think for us it is 500%. I mean, that's the nice thing about toys. It's like and that's why I buy all my games, even though Steam is there and everything is digital. No, man, I go into a store, I buy either the DVD, the CD, the whatever, and I buy those things because it looks better on a wall. That's part one. And part two, I mean, look at all your collections around you and mine over there. It just looks better.
This is a green screen.
Oh, damn. But it also
none of these are real. This is all an effect. Like, this isn't actually in my hand.
Real-time motion tracking.
Yeah, this is all fake.
And we get used to, or at least they're trying to get people used to, theoretically owning something rather than actually owning something, because it's easier for them to theoretically create stuff rather than to actually produce things. And I don't think that's fair. I think it's unhealthy for the consumer, and I also think it's extraordinarily, I don't want to say dishonest, but if they do decide to, as you said, change one little law somewhere along that, you have no control over that, and you've lost a significant investment.
Yeah, that's crap.
It's not cool. No, it's
it
not.
Changes what ownership means, because we're approaching a world where you don't actually own anything physical anymore. You own the rights to have essentially a contract to possess it digitally, as long as the contract is valid. Yeah. So yeah, it's annoying. It's and I think it's like you have subscription models now, and you know, I think there's something useful about that because you have all this content at your fingertips. But it's just like when you go to search for a movie that used to be on Netflix, you're like, oh no, it's not on there anymore.
Yeah, that's crap.
You know, yeah, that's what I don't like.
I was just doing that with Magnum PI. I saw it on one of my streaming services. HD remastered Magnum PI. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm going to check that out. And then when I finally get around to it, it's gone. Like, that is the most annoying thing about things that are streaming, is that they just kept popping in and popping out, and you have no control over it. Like, just leave it up there. Yeah. Okay. I guess I get, you know, needing to make like a revolving door of things. But I'm with Hans. You can't beat having an actual physical copy of it,
Mhm.
you know, old school. And a disc isn't quite like a VHS tape. It's not as satisfying, or a
Mhm.
cartridge that you blow on. But still, it's something. It's an actual physical thing that it's just nice knowing if the internet goes down, you're not out of luck.
Yep.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's stuff to do.
And we've had some internet outages, or not even an outage, just slow internet. Some nights it's really, really slow. It's lagging. And I'll put in a DVD. I did it the other night. I put in, the internet was lagging, and I put in Riptide, my
Yeah.
Riptide DVD. And I watched an awesome vintage episode of Riptide worry-free, without having to worry about, is there going to be pixelization? Is there going to be like a weird pop-up ad? Because some of these sites, you pay for them, and then they throw ads in there.
Mhm.
What's that all about? Like, well, if you pay
Yeah.
another $10, there won't be ads. Like, I'm already paying $10. So again, that's a big plus for owning actual physical media, is you're not going to have pop-ups happening throughout the thing.
Mhm.
About I went to the States because I don't live there a while ago, about 5 years ago. And I went to a Walmart, and there are these huge bins of like bargain stuff. So there was this huge
Yeah.
bin
Mhm.
of like
Yeah.
bargain DVDs, and they were like $1 a piece.
Mhm.
I dug in there, and at the bottom there was the entire season of GI Joe, the entire
Wow.
first season of Sunbow. So I have that. It's like 25 DVDs, but they were $1 each. So like
Wow.
you walk out with
Do
25
it.
DVDs, and my wife looks at me like,
Hans, I'm not gonna lie. When I go back to the States, it's one of the first things I do is go to Walmart. That's one of the things I look for in
I
Walmart.
hate
Is I
those
hit
things, man.
the bargain Blu-rays. It's incredible. Yeah.
I miss seeing all the DVD sections
Mhm.
at, like, they've been obliterated at Best Buy. It used to be one of my favorite things to do at Best Buy.
Yeah.
Go in, and instead of finding out on the internet what's new, I walked into the Best Buy, and there's the new releases. I'm like, oh, cool. Dark Knight is out on Blu-ray now, or
Mhm.
whatever, or surprises too. That's how I found my Matrix Transformers complete Sunbow set. It's just sitting there
Mhm.
at a Best Buy. I'm like, yes. And same with my Foot Locker GI Joe Sunbow complete series. Just nothing beats that. Finding out something in person instead of on your phone.
Something happened. There's something about, well, it all is the hunter-gatherer instinct we have as humans, right? We started our ancient versions of ourselves were hunting and gathering and such. So it's never left us because it's a survival instinct, right? So when you want something, when you go out into the wild and you see it there, the little monkey thing goes, ooh, ooh, and you get happy.
That's
And you go
interesting that you
stare
bring
at
that
it.
up, actually. That might also explain the anxiety when you don't get it, because there is this survival. There's a lot of people who are like, just chill, man. Just chill. It's toys. Do you really need to get all worked up for plastic children's things? But if that's a thing, and I think it is, if it ties into your primordial hunter-gatherer mentality, then there is an aspect of, I will die. The person is thinking they will die if they don't procure this thing that they're hunting. It's an interesting thing to ponder.
I think when
Sorry,
I think
cut
it's
you
one
off,
of the
Mike.
things. It's when you put a lot of thought and passion into something, and to collecting, whether it be finding that thing you don't have, or thinking for a long time about that thing you always wanted, and then like with this unfinished business stuff, you see it somewhere. It's like it triggers out like, oh my god, I gotta get it now,
Yeah.
And it's like I'll confess, while we were talking, I just went on eBay and found a really good deal on an Automan figure. And I bought it was 24 quid from the UK. I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
Through your digital spare.
Yeah. Oh, hey, right here. Yeah. So
Everyone needs a Chuck Wagner figure in their
yeah. I'll post pics in the Patreon when I get it.
But Hans, I really want to hear where you're going with that.
Oh, no, I just think, well, okay. So it's something that we've always had throughout time, and it's not something we ever had to pay for. But of course, companies and such, by taking this away, they actually they make you pay for it almost. They make you pay for it. Something that we had for free before, because it didn't cost anything to go into Walmart or go into Toys R Us or anything. You could do that for free, except for the cost of gas or the cost of whatever, the subway ticket or whatever. Then you go in there and you quote unquote do your hunt. But now you go into Toys R Us, the scalpers have bought everything, or distribution is so rubbish. You have no real choice but to go into Hasbro or Hasbro Pulse or, you know, whatever online, or eBay. And the reality is you sit there with your mouse and you click, 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 and there's no running involved. There's the sensation is removed. The sport in it is removed.
Yep.
So when you get the thing in your possession, and you don't even have to go to the post office to pick it up. Someone drops it to your door, you sign the thing. Thank you. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the thing, you open it. And because the hunt wasn't as satisfying, the item itself is not as satisfying, which is why conventions come into the play, right? But even there are some companies that are each actually trying to take control of the conventions as well. And it's strange how they're attempting to remove such a visceral and important component of toy collecting from the toy collector, and they make you want to pay for it. And it's the same with streaming services. You know, they want you to pay for it, but they don't realize that personal experience is what made it so special and made it so important. And it's what made the commodities and items they sold so intoxicating, is that the actual hunt that we induce in ourselves, or the desire for these items, you know, it drives their sales up. But they, you know.
It's a really good point. Yeah, I guess it is. There was always that, and I say was because I you know, where I live, I never really see anything except for the occasional interestingly rare Motu figure. But you never get that sense of, like, you know, walking around the corner in a toy aisle and seeing, like, oh my God, it's this, you know,
Mr. T.
And yeah, that's a really fun feeling. Yeah, and it's almost much too easy just to click away and buy stuff, as I just demonstrated.
Nothing beats it. And like, one of my most cherished memories from childhood was getting Hooded Cobra Commander in the mail. I think that was my first mail away figure. And so that was something different, because all I had was going to the store and going, you know, like, so getting something in the mail, what, seriously? Mail was where the bills came from, my parents and stuff like that. But a toy for me in the mail, that's amazing. So I still get a little bit of that when I get something from eBay or buying something from Big Bad Toy Store online. And it's good, but nothing beats in person. And like, the Mr. T He-Man figure is one of the most amazing toy collecting experiences of my adult life, because I didn't know that thing was coming out. And that's how I found out. I was like, oh my God, I'm back in Highway Market when I'm 7 years old, and finding out, what, seriously, there's this thing right here. And the new Batman movie toys. I didn't look into any of that stuff, the reviews or the pictures and stuff. So I'm looking at a pile of it. Oh my God, this stuff is so amazing. I'm gonna have to step away and bring it and show you guys. But the Batman toys too are things that I'm finding out exist old school style, like just seeing it on a Walmart shelf and going, what, are you serious? I'll be back in a sec.
I think every toy collector has that. I mean, at least we all have one guy where we buy toys from, or a store where we buy toys from, and there's always that experience where you come in and the guy is there and he's like, hey, welcome back, you know, we got this stuff in stock, etc. And there's a love in it, you know. Love it.
Well, what's really neat too is those relationships sometimes you build. Oh, nice.
Oh my God, this thing is so amazing. You have no idea. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but the Batmobile,
cool.
Gordon.
Oh, the cop car too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Exactly.
And that's 118. That's 118.
Yeah. GI Joe.
Oh, that's
cool.
All of it.
Oh, that's all happening.
Oh,
the freaking Bat Cave.
Nice. Oh, that's cool. I hadn't seen any of those anywhere. I think I saw one. I don't think it was the one you showed. It was a Batman and Batmobile kit, and I actually almost bought it. But I don't think it was one with electronics. It might have been.
Is it Spin Master? Spin Master.
Yeah. Yes, Spin Master.
Spin Master. The company that bought us Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
This thing
That's
is
cool.
really. Eric, I saw the one you got. Was it a Jada diecast one?
Yeah, the one I actually bought was the Jada 124 scale diecast. It's pretty cool. I like it. It fits in with my Hollywood garage I'm building. So they may have that really neat one that's like $70 or $80. That's it's like the 1/18 scale with all the lights and everything. But I like the idea, the one you got with the with the figure and fitting the actual being actual a toy is really cool.
These are a lot of bang for your buck. Like
Yeah.
they're what toys used to be. It's
Mhm.
like Hasbro, Kenner, Mattel toys used to be like before the prices went through the roof, especially like considering this is a licensed item. This is not just some generic supercar. This is Batman. So the
Yeah.
fact that this costs what it costs, which is very, very little, comes with a figure, has amazing electronics. I mean, it's not just, oh, cool, it lights up. You feel a power when you touch these. Like, I get a chill when I hear that. It's the ultimate warrior version of a car right here. This is the ultimate warrior if he were a car. It does a lot of stuff. It's durable, and Spitmaster. Like it's this company that has kind of come out of nowhere. Who are they? But it reminds me a lot of the Tron Legacy toys. Again, huge bang for your buck. Those figures. Who did the Tron Legacy? Trendmaster or something.
Yeah, it
like
was
that.
Trendmasters, I think. Yeah.
Not a lot of money, but they all lit up, and
Mhm.
posability on them was really decent. So just because it doesn't have the Mattel logo on it or Hasbro, don't sleep on it. That stuff is really cool looking.
Spin Master
Nice.
also did a recent 118 collection of Please Don't Throw Stones at Me Fortnite figures. And I usually tend to gravitate towards any of those 4-inch figures. And I bought a couple of them, and they fit right in with your GI Joes, the weapons, everything, and they're well built. So thumbs up, well done, Spin Master.
Well, they even their 6-inch figures, I think, were made as just as well to fit in with the like the 6-inch scale lines. Like they have that one that basically everyone was using as their Firefly.
Yep.
Yeah, and there's a few of them like that. I mean, I think for custom fodder and stuff like that, I will assume that they probably all use the same kind of posts and joints and everything with everything. I'll bet you could swap heads and stuff and do some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I love the compatibility. I'll always love the 1/18 scale for that. Even if I'm not going to cross-pollinate my GI Joe collection with this, it looks right together. Like my Batman, I have a new Batman shelf, which I've never had before, and I'm very excited to have rearranged some things around, and now I actually have a Batman shelf all to itself. But it looks so good next to the Tron Legacy shelf, which is 1/18 scale, which is right next to the GI Joe section, which is 1/18 scale, which is right next to my 80s TV shelf, which a lot of it is 1/18 scale. So there is something to, even though I'm not going to put a GI Joe in this Gotham Cruiser, or I'm not going to put Snake Eyes in the Batmobile. It's just there's something to everything being in the proper scale. Just like with model creators, it's nice to have all the same scale. That's basically what toy fans are. We're model collectors, and we like having things in roughly the same scale.
It scratches the itch of basically, well, what if I wanted Batman to fight, Snake Eyes? Now they're both 1/18, and not one is 6 inches and one is 4. I mean, granted, classified ensures I could do that if I wanted to, but
or team up.
Well, yes, that's true.
Not that they would. Who would they fight? Batman and Snake Eyes. Who the hell?
Galactus, make it big.
Unicron, Galactus, and the entire hate plague from Transformers versus Snake Eyes and Batman.
The scaling, I wish all the toy companies would get together and have that talk about scale and be like, yes, we will all make 4-inch, but I know it won't happen.
I like the it's one thing when I started seeing the Black Series 6-inch stuff. I couldn't help but think like, it's like I'm not going to collect a new scale and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of funny. Like I really warmed up to that because the detail level they're getting on that sort of stuff and the general quality is so good, especially Hasbro and all the companies that are making these 6-inch figures. But I found it didn't bother me so much. And then I started collecting the Black Series the Black Series Star Wars, and then picked up a few of the GI Joe and some of the Marvel stuff, and actually like it. Now I'm kind of like, damn it, DC, why aren't you making your stuff 6-inch instead of the 7-inch nonsense? But it would be nice if they could just say like, hey, we're either going to do like 3.5, 3.75 to 4-inch or 6-inch, period. Just like standardize it all.
Yeah,
it would be nice. I don't know.
Here's arguably the funniest man on the Southwest coast. Bob Squad just woke up. Good to see you, Bob. You know what's a peeve of mine, talking about the different scales, is when you're off just by a teeny tiny bit when you're so close. But so you got your 6 inches, and then you got your 7-inch scale. So like the McFarlane taller Batman stuff is apparently 7 inches. Now I just look at it. I don't whip out my measuring tape and measure everything. I don't put on rubber gloves, surgical gloves when I handle my stuff, and I don't pull out the measuring tape to measure everything. But I'm looking at it, I'm going, oh, 6 inch, right? 6 inch, whatever. No, it's 7 inch. Same with the Super 7 GI Joe taller stuff is not classified. It's not 6 inch. It's 7, which goes into that rights stuff that I hate. They have the rights to do 7, but not 6. I'm like, just make it 6. Just let it go with classified. Nope, can't do it. Business is business. I'm like, oh my God. Once those are actually out and people's in their hands, I think that's going to be pretty annoying that the amazing looking Super 7 Sunbow 7-inch figures don't go with the classified. Case in point, Mattel did that Sergeant Slaughter figure, that amazing Ultimate Sergeant Slaughter figure, which I love, and I love having Sarge be quite a bit taller than the classified figures. I think it looks perfect to me because Sarge is a monster.
Big dude. Yeah.
But I'm not blind to the fact that a lot of people don't like that. They think he's too tall. Okay, I got my opinion, but they got theirs too. A lot of people don't like having that Sarge figure that much taller than the rest of the classified figures. That's what's going to happen when people try to put those Super 7-inch Sunbow figures with their classified. They're going to go, it's too tall. I'm like, why couldn't it just all be 6-inch? Why can't they just talk to each other and just let it slide? I get it. They can't just let it slide. It's business. It's $1 billion corporation, pal. We don't let things slide. Like, I get it, but you should.
I've heard that the head of Harmony Gold is behind a lot of those kind of decisions.
God. I'd love to go longer, but because of Harmony Gold, I think we're gonna have to wrap it up right now. They've got their fingers in every.
I mean, let me show you one thing though. Just on the topic of third party companies and stuff. At one point, Hasbro during the mid early 2000s, they were suffering like really badly with plastic quality and stuff like that. So a lot of the Transformers that they brought out were not very good figures, and that's actually what stopped me from collecting them for a little while. And it pushed me into the realm of third party, at least looking. And they released an excellent game called War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, and many people say are still the best 2 games. And they released a Grimlock figure for, of course, the War for Cybertron that I don't think Hasbro released. They released one, but it was not a good figure, very hollow and whatever. So they released this one, which was the first third-party figure I'd ever bought. And it very much scratched that itch of the of the Transformers War for Cybertron thing, and it transforms into a beautiful dinosaur, right? And Hasbro let them get away with it because, let's face it, this thing is on model point. And there are many of them, many companies that do tons of third-party Transformer figures, and much better than Hasbro, of course, at a much higher price point and whatnot. And I suppose I'm thankful in some ways that Hasbro hasn't thrown the legal book at these companies, and I suspect they might be on the take for some of them as well. And, and I really hope that they never do that, like what they did to Super 7, right? Because if those figures were the right size, 6 inches, I would have bought every single one of them
Same
to go
here.
along with the classified. But
Same
at
here.
7 inches, I'm not doing another scale, and it's cost Super 7 money for me, which I don't think is fair. And if it is indeed something, and y'all would know better than me, that Hasbro has done consciously, then I think that is a disservice to not only the company, but also to us as consumers and the fans, because it is really, it's mean for the sake of being mean. It's not mean for the sake of, you know, preservation of business model. It's just mean.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I want to just specify, I always do, and I will again. It's better than nothing. Super 7, 7-inch figures, nothing, or their 7-inch amazing Sunbow figures. Yeah, absolutely. Their figures at 7-inch are way better. But what if? That's all I'm throwing out there. What if? Bob says, my third-party Star Disagreements figures definitely take care of unfinished business. I'm really looking forward to some Luke Starvader and Walter Prendergast with his Galvatron laser pistol. Star Trek. No, I'm thinking of Star Trek Wars, which was different than Star Disagreements. Well, guys, this has been fun. To wrap it up, do you want to just throw out another quick little, get it back on the unfinished business track? One more dream figure, never been done, that you'd like to see. Matt, kick it off. Or vehicle.
Ooh,
or
boy.
location. I mean, that might open it up too, like location.
So I do think it's not quite unfinished business, but I do want somebody to revisit M.A.S.K in modern format. So whether that's Super 7 or Hasbro themselves,
Ramen is working on a few vehicles that go into attack mode. Ramen Toy, same company that is doing, where are those gorgeous guys? They did some figures that look a lot like the Centurions. They're called 80s Commanders, and they're doing John Thunder. Well, no, they're not doing John Thunder. They're doing the Apache Commander, who looks a lot like John Thunder with the vehicle. I'm like, oh my God, I can feel it. They're gonna do something like Rex Charger, and so they're doing a Porsche that turns into a boat, and that's one of those things we were talking about earlier. Where's the shark? Where's it? It's been 40 years. Where's the shark? It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not on the planner. It's like any day now. They're not doing it because, they don't want to get the Porsche license and they don't think there's the demand. It's like, okay, bring it on, Ramen Toy. Bring it on, because it's not happening otherwise. So hopefully that's the first of many, vehicles that turn into attack mode, because I think M.A.S.K had a couple of other vehicles, like nothing as big as the shark for sure, but a second chance to get things that the license holders aren't doing. Like, personally, here's an itch for me. It's not just always getting about stuff from my collection. It's about seeing friends get things that aren't readily available. I want my friends to be able to get a Rhino and not break the bank. Not a $500 Rhino in decent shape with, slightly scuffed chrome. I want my friends to be able to buy something like Rhino. And if Ramen could do something like that, even if I don't pick it up for myself, I want to hear from you saying, I just picked up I don't know what you would call it, the rhinoceros, so something like that, and see all of the cool stuff that the new version can do that even my vintage one can't do. So that's another big thing with companies like that, dusting off these old properties or doing things that are inspired by the old properties, giving people a chance to get it without selling an arm and a leg to get it. Eric, anything else you can think of?
Actually, yeah, and this is kind of a wish list item. But does anybody remember the original Matchbox Voltron toys? They had a toy called Gladiator. Yeah, they had a toy called Gladiator Voltron, and it came out, and everybody was like, "What the heck is this thing?" Right? What was that? Based on a actually really good cartoon called Albegus, right? It had a really cool mythology behind it and all this sort of stuff. The original cartoon was great, and they did bring out the toy back in the day. I would love to see a Sola Chigogan Albegus, like an update to that.
Is this him?
That's the one. Yeah, that's Gladiator Voltron. But it was out in America stores, but they never aired the cartoon that it was going to be based on, essentially, right?
Yeah.
They never aired it as Voltron 3. But I would love to see an updated Sola Chigogan version of this thing. I think it would be awesome.
Man, yeah, that'd be super cool. I was going to ask Hans his. He stepped out.
No
problem.
My last one, I started with GI Joe. I'm probably gonna end with GI Joe because I'm a GI Joe guy. If you remember in Renegades, there was a black helicopter that they used to use as a transport vehicle. Cobra used to use it. It was this one basically.
Oh, cool!
Right.
Oh, nice.
I want this scaled up, not like the GI Joe community is very much on this kind of. They want this blue transport helicopter, but Renegades had this black one with the twin thing. I want this scaled up into a transport helicopter for Cobra. Something that the Baroness can step down from looking majestically, and the same for Cobra Commander. Not just a little, like a dinky patrol helicopter kind of thing. Just modernized, nice, sleek GI Joe Cobra transport helicopter. Not this crazy VTOL one that they've been touting on the online everywhere.
Yeah.
I would pay so much money for that. But this entire conversation has led me into a universe of toys that I didn't know existed.
Sorry. Sorry to your wife.
Enjoy the hunt for your Johnny Quest figures, Hans.
Yeah.
Next time you see me, I'm going to
so sorry. I'm so sorry. I need to sneak this in here. This applies to every video, but especially this chat today. Bills come first, folks. I will not take any of the blame for bank accounts being drained. Pay your bills first. That's the qualifier. That's the preface for all of my videos. Do not buy anything. This is me. Don't tell your wife or whoever. Michael Mersey told me to go buy. I've never told anyone to go buy anything. And I'm telling you to pay your bills. I'm telling you to buy food and clothes and toys for your kids first. And then if there's anything left over, treat yourself. But bills come first. Kids come first. Wife comes first. Bob, you're absolutely right. Bob Backlund. There aren't enough Bob Backlund figures. Bob Backlund has become one of my all-time favorites. Clean living, healthy, regular exercise, positive mental attitude. Read Bob Backlund's book. My God, it is one of the most inspiring books you'll ever read, wrestling or otherwise. And Boba Hicks also says we need a Bob the Leg Lariat Hansen figure. I'm surprised there isn't a Bob figure yet. Bob Hansen figure. Who needs electricity? Allowance is good.
It's true.
More industry Bob shaming. There's no Bob shaming here, brother. It's definitely Super 7 needs to get on a Bob Hansen figure there. All right, boys. Thanks a lot. That was a lot of fun, and thank you for jumping on here on short notice.
Thanks for having us. It's terrific.
Always good to talk.
It's a good surprise on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you again.
Yeah, I wish I could do these more often. I haven't for quite some time. I've had business to finish. Seems like every single weekend. But glad I was able to hop on here, and thank you everyone else for joining us on this live stream on short notice. Hopefully be back soon. If you haven't checked out the unfinished business video that went up yesterday, check it out. Share your thoughts. If you didn't hear today, sorry if we couldn't get to your comments. And I'm lingering. Did they ever do a bot? Possibly a third-party bot from Transformers. It was one of the final season 2 episodes. It was right before they switched over to the movie era. Bot was kind of a human-made thing to fight Decepticons. Vid Zombie, good to see you on there. Gaz rocking all the custom emojis that still don't show up here on StreamYard for some reason, but if you're wondering, if you're looking in the chat, how is he doing that? He is a channel member. So channel members get to have custom emojis for comments and also live streams. Good to see you, Mark. Hope things are good there in Ireland for you. Another Mark. Good to see you too. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for chatting. Hope you all have an awesome day. Nerdmas Day. Take care, everyone.
See you.